Reds? Welcome back to another episode of Liverpool Latest. As we dry our eyes from the very emotional news of Mo leaving earlier this week, I took some time, did a little research. That's hence why there was no episode yesterday. But I wanted to properly determine a new successor to Salah. And there's a lot of different options, a lot of different names have been thrown around, some of which I'm familiar with, some of which I am not. Hence why we are going to do our best to put it all together. I'm also going to discuss a potential former youth player to return to the team and potentially take that spot. Not to mention all of the drama considering Arne Slot, whether or not he's in, whether or not he's out, and Xabi Alonso, whether or not he's ready to go or not, because apparently 1 minute he was, the next minute the club isn't going to take themselves away from Slot. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to talk about it. And last but not least, we're going to cover some angry fans discussing the ticket prices for Anfield, as it seems prices are increasing in the next few years. Let's get right to it, shall we? I'm breaking this up into a couple of different tiers for this Salah successor section of the video. The first one being the quote-unquote true replacement to Salah, who may not be, who aren't necessarily one-to-one. They're elite, but they're still different in their own respects. The first of which is one I've seen thrown around quite a bit online, and that is Rodrigo, who, as we all know, plays for Real Madrid. A left-footed, right-sided versatility player, and he's definitely elite in tight spaces as well as big game experience. Why some may think he fits Liverpool and potentially Salah's spot is because he can replicate those inside runs, provide a serious goal threat, as well as be crucial in combination play. Some will argue that he is the most Salah-style successor we have on the market right now, potentially. The concern with that is that he plays for Real Madrid, and considering just how much he is a part of the dynamic of the team, there's obviously going to be a very, 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 very expensive price tag to go along with all that eliteness that Rodrigo carries. Personally speaking, I'm not sure if the risk or the price will be worth the reward in the long run. I like the idea of the fantasy booking style of it, but I am not sure if that is a risk I would be willing to take if I am anyone in the Liverpool office. The next tier I like to discuss is tier 2, which is realistic and high level, but has a nice balance of their own style plus Salah's. So actually happens to include a couple of names I've already talked about in the last couple of weeks. One of them is Dario Osorio, who is a left-footed right-wing player. He has already been linked to Liverpool in a couple of different capacities over the last couple of days, as I've covered in maybe the last week or so. And he's definitely in the natural Salah role of playing wide to inside and shooting. So he's a pretty good mix of profile, affordability, plus a tremendous upside as well. The problem with him is that he is not adapted to the Premier League, and as maybe evident by some of our signings over the course of the summer transfer window, some of those players we acquired weren't a part of a Premier League system. And even those that were a part of a Premier League system struggled tremendously at first to find their footing in Liverpool and Slot's system. So perhaps with the proper system around him, maybe he could potentially be a solid choice. Probably the second biggest name I've seen is Michael Olise, who is another right-wing playmaker. And I say right-wing as if it's some of you might hear that phrase and, the trigger warning might be popping off in your head, but I promise this is not political. It's just a position, folks. It's just a football position. He would definitely fit in a slot system because one of our biggest problems has been, or maybe not so much fit in slot system, but definitely fix a lot of the problems that slot has complained about, as in chance creation, because chance creation has been a very obvious problem we have seen. Some players are doing a good job of creating chances, but the problem is we are not doing enough of that. We are not making the defense work. We are not making the keeper work. Everything is becoming far too easy, and if anything, probably very lazy. So we need people to pick up the pace. The problem with Olise is that he has a bad injury record, and he's less of a pure goal scorer than Salah is. Anthony Gordon, another name that has been tied with Liverpool in the last week or so, is a good fit, or could potentially be a good fit, because he fits Slot's pressing system. Doesn't fit the fucking offense system. Nothing really does, let's be fair. And of course, will help in the transition phases of the play. Although the concerns with him is that he's not a Mo Salah type finisher and is a more chaotic player than Control, where Mo is a very cool, calm, and collected individual. Gordon, young guy, maybe a little bit more off the chain, kind of like a Darwin Nunez type, I would think, the way I am reading this as. He seems to fit more of a Darwin Nunez style of play than a Mo Salah, but that's just my opinion. The next tier I'd like to discuss is the high ceiling projects. And obviously, to me, the biggest name on this tier, if not the biggest name or one of the biggest names for my personal choice, is Yan Diomande. I've been talking about him for months now. I talked about him leading up to the January window. I talked about him a little bit after the fact, because it seems like he is potentially in line for a summer get, but I don't know. I am not sure if they're going to pull that trigger. I would like them to pull that trigger. The only risk that I really see with him is the fact that doesn't have the output, doesn't have the consistency, and he's still a really young guy. So I'm not sure if they're waiting for him to get more experience, even though he's already got a pretty solid level on the senior level of his career. But he could potentially be turned into a long-term Salah archetype. And let's be fair here. Youth is on our side with Yan Diomande. I mean, he's like, what, 18, 19 years old? Salah was like he was here for 9 years and he's 33 now. Salah was here when he was like 25, 26 or something along those lines. Something around like a little bit younger than I am right now. That's a good couple extra years we might get out of him, if we keep him for as long as Salah is around or was around. So we'll find out if that is the case. There is another player that I have seen mentioned a bit, and that is actually happens to be a former youth player, if anything, for Liverpool, and that is Harry Wilson. Now, currently, Harry Wilson is playing for Fulham. His stats at the moment, as far as the 2025 to 2026 season, he's got 29 matches under his belt, 10 total goals, and 6 assists. And he's also part of the Wales national team, where he has had 5 matches, 5 goals, and 2 assists in that international play as well. So for those of you that might not know anything about Harry Wilson, because maybe you weren't following the academy at that time, he apparently has been a part of the Liverpool system from 2005 in some capacity, with his youth career to 2014. And in his senior career, he played with us from 2014 to 2022. He's also been on loan for a couple of different teams, including Hull City, Derby County, Bournemouth, Cardiff, and, of course, having left, he went to Fulham after his loan in 2022 was finished. So he clearly has some experience with Liverpool and the identity of the team. He's not a like-for-like replacement, though. There's an output gap. As you can clearly see, 10 goals in, how many games was that again? 29 matches is good. It's not great, but it's good. But compared to maybe a couple of years ago where he had 35 matches and 4 goals, it's a take it or leave it type of deal. He's improving. The good news is that he is improving. The fact of the matter is I still don't know if he has the output needed for a true Salah successor like we are talking about today. So, but is he a tactical fit under Arne Slot if Arne Slot still has a job at the end of the season? Left-footed right-wing player, so that's right away fits the profile. Creative, he's got good delivery. He's a set-piece threat, which is another thing. But compared to Salah, if we have to, because, well, we have to. This is his successor we're talking about. He is not explosive in the 1v1s. He's not a volume goal scorer, as you can tell from the stats I was just discussing with you. And he doesn't carry the attacks alone. So, with Slot's system, he relies on, high output attackers to be with them, constant goal threat, as well as a penalty box presence. So, that could be something that could be worked on in Slot's system, and as he could be a important piece to that. But again, we don't know if Slot has a job at the end of the season. And you know what? Might as well get right to it. Let's segue right into that. So, Harry Wilson, media speculation probably at the very most. So I wouldn't necessarily sit here and tell you that he is going to be the end-all, be-all. I think it's a nice idea to have a guy who's been a part of the youth academy coming back in a more senior capacity. But, you ask me, I don't know if the risk is worth it. Personal opinion. I like the idea of it, but realistically, I can't see that happening. Not for a player like Salah to be replaced. We need somebody with a little bit more output, in my opinion. So I've been talking about Slot and whether or not he has a job all episode here. Here's what I've seen. It's been annoying the crap out of me. 1 minute, reports on Twitter are going on about how Arne Slot will be sacked at the end of the season. Arne Slot could be sacked as soon as this time. Arne Slot could be sacked as soon as that time. Arne Slot could be sacked as soon as the fat lady sigs and pigs fly at this rate. Because it's not going to happen, it feels like. It's never going to happen. Hell has to freeze over, and I don't have all the time in the world here, okay? My football club is crumbling before my very eyes. And what on top of that is, with that news of Slot and whether or not he has a job, whether or not the club is out on him, is that Xabi Alonso is ready to go. After all, I did talk about how he has been, or his agent or his assistant has been in talks with players on the team. Maybe some players spilled the beans a little bit and something got leaked to the media, but it seemed like at one point there was news that Xabi Alonso was ready to go and was just waiting for the phone call. He's just sitting on the unemployment line saying, give me the call, give me the chance, I will turn this club around, so on and so forth. So naturally, Liverpool social media, Liverpool Twitter, Liverpool Instagram went into a fucking frenzy about the whole thing because they will fall for anything. I sat here thinking to myself, well, this would be great if it happened, but I highly doubt it, or else we would have heard from the club at this point. But there is no credible backing from any tier 1 reporters and journalists in football that have said that this is a definite thing going forward. So, and the worst thing about it is, if we don't get Alonso now, someone else will. So Liverpool need to make a decision. And the worst part about this whole thing with Mo leaving is that if Slot was one of the reasons why Mo was going to leave, and they decide now that they're going to let him go after Mo made his decision to leave, come on, man. You could have just let him stay at that point. You could have just let him finish out the contract for one more year. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it because it's all he said, she said, hearsay bullshit. So what I will say is that if anything were to happen, it will certainly happen in the summer. The problem is we need answers now. Everybody's leaving. Robertson might leave. Curtis Jones could potentially leave. Virgil isn't much farther behind in the next year or so. Everybody who has some sort of leadership role in the dressing room will eventually be gone in some capacity within the next 6 months to a year. That is my humble opinion. Partially, I feel like that's because of Slot and the way that he's been treating some of these players. And I feel like the morale amongst management and team is a little shaky. The confidence is a little shaky. Unfortunately, I don't think the Alonso rumor has any credibility for us to really have a real bite on the situation here. So the fact that at one point news broke about it and then a few hours later somebody backtracked goes to tell me that nothing is written in stone. For all I know, Arne Slot could be they could extend Arne Slot for another 3 years at this rate, and the entirety of Twitter will implode as a result, and it would be I will be one of them. But I just want something to happen. I just want a decision to be made. I am not one to live in fairy tales, okay? I want results. I'm a pragmatic person, a logical person. I don't want fantasy. I want reality. And I just want Slot off my club, man. That's all I want. What I don't want is these goddamn ticket prices raising up for all the fans. It's making it harder for me to get into a game, for Christ's sake. Getting plane tickets, thousands of dollars to go to Liverpool in the UK, and then spending a fuck ton on tickets at this rate. I mean, Jesus Christ almighty. How much do they gotta charge? I mean, inflation's already fucking everybody up the ass here in the US. I'm not sure what's going on in the UK or the Europe, but it seems like in the first year, this is the 3-year process, by the way. In the next, or 3-season process, excuse me, we're going to be seeing about a 5% cap in all prices. Year one, we'll be seeing a jump from 0 to 3%, and then it'll cap off at 5% in the future years following that. So it looks to me like there's going to be it's going to be a bit pricey trying to get into a match at Anfield, and fans are angry because this whole decision was led by board, the supporters board with Jay McKenna, and the frustration is pretty clear, or at least the fans are angry with Jay McKenna, I should say, because the venue has, the venue already is, and the club is already making millions and millions of dollars hand over fist. The problem is they have to spend millions and millions of dollars to fix the absolute abomination that is this football club in the summer. So, club earns more, prices go up. The story of my life when it comes to sports. Try getting into a game at Madison Square Garden for the New York Rangers or the New York Knicks. Trying to get into a game at Yankee Stadium, for Christ's sake. I'm lucky I got tickets to that Wrexham preseason game. It cost me $500. No, I'm not shitting you. It cost me $500 for 2 tickets for me and my dad to go to Yankee Stadium. Prices are outrageous, bro. I thought it was bad in the U.S. Apparently it's getting bad everywhere. But, it sucks. It sucks to see fans be upset about it. It sucks to see that they're kind of price gouging a little bit. But as far as Liverpool's side of things, costs for everything have exploded. I mean, match day operating costs are up 85% in the last 10 years. There's also a lot of competitive pressure because staying competitive in the Premier League and potentially the Champions League every year or every couple of years means constantly rising the wages for workers, fees, infrastructure costs. I understand keeping the lights on in a place like Anfield is no peanuts. Like, it doesn't cost peanuts to run the damn thing, but I mean, how much more do you got to charge people for it, though? Like, it's kind of insane. It is kind of insane, but their key argument here is that the predictable price increase now could result in fewer big shocks in that same realm later on. And, for some fans, this isn't really about the $3 more per ticket or 3 euros or pounds more per ticket. The fans, they feel like stakeholders and not customers, because it seems like the customers and the fans are being charged more to support a club while the club is already thriving as it is. So fans are taking this to an emotional side of things. They're not, I wouldn't say they're not being logical, because I feel like being upset about prices increasing again in something that is trying to help alleviate your stress from prices rising everywhere else. It sucks. I hate price gouging, man. I hate raising prices because it hurts everybody. But the fact of the matter is that people are taking it to heart maybe a little bit more than they should, and I sympathize with you. I do. But the fact of the matter is, this is the life and how things are going. I mean, if what it stinks. It genuinely stinks. Inflation is a terrible thing. I hate inflation very much. It's just gotten worse over the years since COVID. That's what it is. So unfortunately, you got to pay a little bit more for tickets. May have to pay a little bit more for tickets if I want to go watch a game in Anfield, on top of the thousands of dollars I have to already pay to get to Anfield from across the pond. So, they're certainly acting like a modern elite club, Liverpool, and fans. I will reiterate, expect the club to act like a community institution instead of a business. And that is where I think the disconnect behind the fans and the club themselves is, because no sports team is going to necessarily properly take the fans' criticisms and be like, oh my God, the fans are angry. Prices rose up. Oh man, we got to fix this. I don't want to make any money. I want to keep, paying more out of my pocket when we can just charge them more and make more money, pay everybody else a little bit more than what they're worth, just a little bit to make up for it. I don't know. Corporate greed, man. You gotta love it. Just like how you love Liverpool Latest coming to you every single day on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform. Leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. And remember, when you join the Liverpool Latest family, you, my friend, will never walk alone. I will see you on the next one. Adios.